Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Gaiety Titan, and this is more of a first look at the Polish tech tree, because the entire Polish tech tree I don't think justifies looking at the individual lower tier tanks in the tech tree. The first two tanks are actually a bit of fun. Now, I had one battle in the 4TP. It seemed like a fun battle, but the recording is incomplete. That's where it ended, right there. The next battle that I had was in the 7TP. I had two battles in the 7TP, and I think I was using an experienced booster. I think I was using a by 5 booster. But I had two battles in the 7TP, and I found the 7TP to be a pretty fun tank as well. So both the 4 and the 7 were reasonably fun tanks to be with. Now, they weren't great tanks. They're tier 1 and tier 2 tanks after all. However, they seemed to hold out reasonably well for their tier, and they did reasonable amounts of damage for their tier, at least as far as I could tell in the couple of games, the 3 games that I had in them. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't decide to do a whole video on each of the tanks. I just felt that I hadn't spent the time to really get to know these tanks, nor could recommend, should we say, optimal ways of using them and handling them. Now, the problem with the Polish tech tree is that these tanks, I think, inflate your expectations a little bit, because when it comes after the 7TP, you get into the 10TP, and the 10TP is a bloody disaster. I'm not even going to show a game at the 10TP. But let's discuss these two at the moment. Now, equipment-wise, I equipped binoculars, camo knitting, and a toolbox on all of these tanks. The main reason I did so is that I had no idea what to put on them, and I knew I wasn't going to be playing enough games to justify mounting dismountable equipment, because down at the level, at the tier that you're buying these tanks at, the cost of the equipment can be way more expensive than the price of the tank. In fact, I think throughout the game the cost of equipment is nearly as expensive or more expensive. Well, it's pretty expensive relative to the price of the tank. I must also say that I had a better experience with the low tiers than I had the last time I was playing. I suppose around this time last year, or a bit earlier probably, there was a competition on reflecting the World Cup. So this is why a reason I played the low tier Czechs and Swedes, because you had to play Czech and Swedish tanks in order to enter this competition, and I had therefore researched some of the lower tiers, I think up to tier 4 on the Czechs, maybe tier 5 on the Swedes, and it actually trained up some skills on the crews as well. So I was mostly training the Polish crew prior to this in the Pudel, but the Pudel is such a good tank that I anyway, whatever. It's such a good tank that I quite enjoyed playing it, and I could have been happy to keep playing that for a long period of time. However, then I had to get around to doing the Polish tech tree at some point in time if I wanted to get into the Polish tanks. So, you know, we're at a Blitzen. Now we're top tier in this game, and I found, yeah, top tier occasionally. Well, it was reasonable. After a couple of games I was in, I think it might have been top tier. The tier 1 tank, no, I wasn't. I was in a mixed tier 1, tier 2 game. But it held up okay in a mixed tier 1, tier 2 game. It wasn't as bad as I said when I was playing the Czechs and things were full of T22 protos, which the Czech tank could, actually the Czech tank couldn't hurt any tank, I think, at the tier 1, much less the T22 protos. This tank, as you can see, it's able to deliver a reasonable smack, like relative to the hit points of the tanks that it's targeting, and I'm able to take him down from full health, and I took some damage myself, but I was still able to do it in the time, should we say, in reasonably quick, before he could take me out, despite the fact that I wasn't at full health myself, and there's only 190 hit points in the tank. And this game is almost over. So we moved on from here to the 10TP. Now, it took me 5 games to elite the 10 TP, and was I glad to see the back of it. As I was said earlier on, I'm not actually going to show any of the 10 TP games. So what's wrong with the 10 TP? Well, the armour doesn't improve. None of these tanks have good armour. I don't think it bounces a shot in any of them. None of them have great view range. But the 10 TP combines poor view range with poor concealment as well, as far as I can tell. Mobility on the tank is actually good, but the real problem is the gun is trash. The gun is utter rubbish and will not penetrate pretty much anything in the game. What's worse is when you move on to the 14 TP, the first 2 guns in the 14 TP are probably worse than the top gun on the 10 TP. It's only when you get into the top 2 packages on the 14 TP that you're getting anything like a better gun. Note that I'm saying a better gun, not necessarily a good gun. I'm actually beginning to think that the 14 TP would be better off. I'd be better off actually using the second last gun. There's a 40mm buffers autoloader that is the same as you get on the Crusader. It used to be the top gun on the Crusader before they brought in the 2-pounder, and is now the penultimate gun on the Crusader, I think. It's got limited range, but it fires 2 rounds, but it fires 2 shots per round. So you pull the trigger, you get a double tap, and you pull it again, you get another double tap. And about 1/3 of the shots will penetrate at that tier. And that's actually probably got a better DPM, effective DPM, than the Top Gun, even though the Top Gun has statistically a better gun. But what I found was, now, the thing is, that's the view range when the thing is moving without a camouflage knitting. And I was spotted going into position. I discovered that, the best thing to do with the 14 TP, and probably the best thing to do with the 10 TP, is to rediscover the lost art of passive scouting. That is, find advanced bushes, go into them, use your binoculars and your camouflage net, spot enemies for your team, and let your team do the shooting, and do not fire your gun. Because you fire, unless you can reasonably sure that it's either you're either going to die if you don't fire your gun, or you can fire your gun if you are reasonably sure that nobody else spots you because you fired your gun. So you have a reasonably good understanding of the spotting mechanics. Now, anybody down there in the buildings and the ruins can spot me. Now, a Crusader has shot me, and I'm not detected. And I think what he's doing is he knows his team's taking damage, he knows there's somebody down the field spotting them, and he's shooting into the likely bushes. And he knows he scored a hit, because he would have gotten the damage ribbon to tell him. And meanwhile, I've picked up more than my hit points worth of damage from scouting, and I've discovered, like I said, is the most effective thing to do. Now, that Crusader doesn't have many hit point damage left. I can one-shot him if I can hit him, put a round through him. And I think I pretty much have to at this stage. He knows I'm here, and he's got a turret that I can penetrate. And there we done it. Blind shot. But he didn't move, because if he moved, it would put his aim off. Now the T-40 is much further back and won't be able to see me, and probably doesn't know that I'm there anyway. I think the Crusader knew, well, I had been spotted earlier when I came down to this region, and he probably guessed, since his team was taking damage on the back line, that I was still here, and therefore he was shooting at me. But I have found that if you, even though, like, if you look at it now, right, I'm sitting still, I'm in a bush, I got camo netting and binoculars, and my binoculars extend maybe 200 meters past my detection range, and the reason I'm not shooting is that it would negate the bush. Well, I can shoot, I'm shooting at him because he's right at the edge of my detection range, and he's in an M3 Lee, which doesn't have great view range to begin with. And I could probably shoot the Kaiju, although it's a complete waste of time. I could probably hit the Kaiju all day. I'd be less inclined now to shoot at the SU-100, because there's a good chance that he would spot me. The enemy deployment actually here was perfect for me, in the sense that they were all clustered down the field. I haven't seen a team cluster down the field this strongly since the 5 years, 6 years, since the early days of Malinovka, when people spawned on the field. And at that point you would see tanks down the field, and of course they'd basically sniping each other across the field. But there'd be no massed force coming down the hill like we are now. And the thing is, we've held their assault on the northern side. That M4, and he's now close enough inside that I dare not shoot. There's a very good chance that he would spot me, because the M4s have pretty good view range. I don't think the heavy tank further up he's outside my detection range. Neither would any of the two guys below, the remaining guys below in the southern end of the map. But I don't have to shoot, and the thing is, I'm useful to my team alive. I mean, you might have heard Jingles saying that, you know, somebody's no use to their team alive. Well, I kind of fundamentally disagree with the statement. Even an AFK is actually of use to the team if somebody's within their spotting range and they're spotting the tanks for you. It's very often one of the most effective ways to defend the cap is to have an AFK in the cap, both to draw the enemy's attention and fire, and then shoot at the enemies that's shooting at him, or them, or whatever. So I've picked up 2,000 points of spotting damage. I've only done 91 on my own, but the thing is, if I had fired, I would almost certainly have been spotted, and irrespective of where I was. If it was in any location where I was in a position to fire, I would have been spotted. And this is a tier 6 game, and most of those tier 5s and tier 6s could one-shot me, or a lot of them could one-shot me, or close enough to it, because a lot of them actually, I suppose they probably wouldn't equip HE rounds specifically to fire against tier 4s, but they'd probably penetrate the armor in this tank with a HE round and probably kill me outright in one shot. So I've started to come down now and see if I can whittle out a few more pieces of damage, either spotting damage or whatever. Although it's a bit late at this stage and there's only one tank remaining, and that's it, it's game over, there's nobody else left. So overall we had a victory, and I was actually surprised by the result. Now it's 2095 damage, but the actual result that I got was an ace tanker, and I got a patrol duty. Now patrol duties are pretty rare, and I actually am very proud of getting patrol duties anytime I manage them, because it's pretty stiff requirement. You must be spotting at least 6 enemies at the time they're damaged, and you must be the only one spotting them, which is difficult enough to achieve. I thought there was a damage threshold as well, that you had to have a certain percentage of the hit points or something like that. But it doesn't look like there is. But still, it's a rare enough medal, and I don't have it on too many tanks. So my verdict on the low tier Polish tanks: the first two are fine tanks, they're grand. The second two tanks are really only useful for passive scouting. If you actually fire your gun at all, you're actually doing more harm to your team than good, because you're actually making it more likely that you're going to be destroyed. After that, there really isn't much to say. I haven't gone any further. I'm now in the process of actually grinding out the 25,000 experience that I need to transfer to tier 5 without losing any tank mastery, because from here on up, tank mastery is going to be important. And that's actually proven to be more painful on the 14 TP than grinding out the 14 TP to elite status. So I have unlocked the next tank up. I've done the same with the Czech tank. So I'm now just grinding out the experience for tank mastery, so that I'll enter tier 5 with tank mastery already achieved on each of the tanks. I think tank mastery from here on out is going to be more and more important. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and a share. Feel free to comment. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.